A little backstory, my brother, Oliver, is 2 years younger than me and he was diagnosed with autism. He doesn't have a super severe case, but he's definitely not high functioning, so he required a lot of support from my parents. For literally as long as I can remember he's always been the center of attention. They were always so focused on him that I was often forgotten about or neglected. When I was a little kid I was ignored so my parents could direct their attention to Oliver. When I wanted my parents to take me to soccer practice a lot of times we'd have to leave early because Oliver had an episode. I of course looked after him too. I made sure he was never bullied or made fun of as much as I could and made sure he could always come talk to me during school if he needed it. It was still hard though knowing that whatever I did would be ignored for his sake. I acted out a lot. I fraud a lot, did medicines, stole, drank, argued with teachers, and failed a few classes to get any type of attention from my mom and dad, didn't help. Oliver still lives in our hometown in his own place and I still talk to him, but I rarely talk to my parents. I send them a message on holidays and birthdays, aside from that nothing. Like from January to October they don't hear from me. I was on the phone with Oliver a few days ago and he told me that mom and dad wanted me to come home for Christmas this year, which would be the first time since I was 17. He told me that they think I hate them and that I don't care about the family. I told him it wasn't likely that I'd be there. Yesterday I got a call from my mom and dad who were upset that I haven't seen them in almost 6 years. I told them I didn't hate my family, that I just don't want to come home. They told me that they were shocked that after all they did for their children, one refused to see them. I cut that crap out real quick. I told them that they did things for Oliver, not for me. I went on a rant about how jealous I was, how awful of parents they were to me, and that I wasn't going to come back to see them ever. They told me that I need to stop using things that happened as a kid to justify my behavior and that I'm an adult and need to get over it. They also said I was selfish for wanting more when my brother obviously needed more. I told them to back off and that they'd never see me again and hung up. I think I might be the idiot because of how upset with me Oliver and my girlfriend got. My parents told Oliver what I said and my girlfriend heard everything. My girlfriend especially thought I was an idiot because they only have so many years left and I shouldn't hate two people that care about me for some mistakes they made years ago. Not the idiot, they spent their time focusing on your brother and ignoring you when you were a child. They might have had little choice as your brother did need special attention. However, the fact they will still not acknowledge how they hurt you and just want you to pretend they were fabulous parents to you makes it seem like they are more interested in looking like a happy family as opposed to actually caring about you even more. They should have apologized and asked you how to get closer now. Instead, they threw a tantrum. Stay strong. Not the idiot. As someone who was the autistic brother in a sibling relationship, I can say that your feelings are justified. Even with my issues and extra needs as a kid, my parents still made time for my sister. On top of that, they refuse to even see your side of it and tell you to grow up while they act like moody teenagers. They demand you forgive without them saying sorry, and that's not okay. I would say maybe call Oliver and try to explain this. Maybe invite him over for Christmas instead. That way you can spend the holidays with your real loved ones. Not the idiot. Oliver has a biased view of how the family was when he was younger. Everyone loved him and took care of him, so he would have assumed that that was how it was for OP as well. So he won't know how OP felt. Now the fact that OP has never taken his jealousy out on Oliver speaks incredibly highly of OP's character, and as to OP's girlfriend, thought about how many years the parents have left. To me, that's a life versus quality of life question. As it stands, if OP has his parents in his life, is it only going to do more harm than good to OP and Oliver? I see a lot of posts on here about free childcare, so I thought you guys could help me out with this. The problem started when I, now 17, was 12 and my aunt had her first kid. A year after her kid was born I went to a family gathering. For some reason completely unknown to me everyone wordlessly agreed that I was the most competent person to take care of the baby. I was stuck with it for the whole event. I thought it was over with until a few years later, after my other aunt and cousin had babies, it was again wordlessly decided that I am the babysitter. This became routine for any family gathering. There are several issues with this. I do not like kids. I don't enjoy watching them and not a single part of being around them appeals to me. There are 4 kids now. They are 5, 4, 3, and 2. That's a lot to handle. Their parents are firm believers in not telling them the word no. This means that if one of the kids is beating the others with a stick, I can't say no, don't do that. I have to say crap like, well, that's not very nice, which is about as effective as it sounds. And I just add that I have an older brother, 19, and a cousin who's my age, 17, that have never had to deal with the kids. When I was 15, I first tried to protest having to watch the kids by simply refusing to chase them around and take care of them. I got screamed at by my aunts when one of them got hurt, even though I wasn't even in the room with them. Last week my family planned a weekend getaway all together, and I was dreading it. I went along with it anyway, and as soon as I got there the kids were shoved in my face. I didn't even get to set my bags on the floor and they were already in my care. So I looked my family in the face, said screw this, grabbed my book, and sat on the beach. Alone. It was bliss. When I got back my aunts were exhausted from watching their own children. They said something along the lines of, "Oh, thank God you're back, we thought we'd have to skip dinner." I asked why they would have to skip dinner, and they told me they scheduled to dine in a fancy restaurant and the kids weren't allowed to come with them. This means I watch them. The exact words I said were, "Listen, I'm here to enjoy myself, and that really doesn't include watching the younger ones all day so that you guys can relax. If that's going to be a problem I can leave." They had to cancel their reservation and order food in. Everyone is pissed at me because they were all hungry and had to wait an extra hour for the takeout to get there. Which is funny because I was the only one staying back with the kids and they didn't even consider what we would have eaten. But anyway, my whole family, except parents and brother there on my side, is saying I'm an idiot because I ruined all their plans with my hissy fit. So, should I have waited until after vacation to make an issue of it? Am I the idiot for essentially making everyone stay in the room for the rest of the week? Not the idiot. Your aunt is the idiot for treating you like a second mother. You're being singled out because your aunt thinks that boys can't care for children. Don't allow your aunt to bully you into helping her with her mistakes. She put the effort into making all those kids, she can care for all of them. You can get her into trouble if she attempts to leave them with you because you can state that you aren't watching them. She can get in trouble for child abandonment. Not the idiot. My wife is a professional early child educator, and even she is not expected to take care of 4 preschoolers by herself for extended periods of time, and she gets a living wage and benefits to do it when it does happen. Ratio doesn't even allow more than 5 kids per person. They should be paying you about $700 to $1,000 a week for the service. Even though it's family, they are exploiting your labor. Well done asserting yourself so respectfully, it shows a lot of integrity and appreciation for the health of your family. Not the idiot, the fact they never ask your male cousins the same, or even to assist you is bad and strange as hell, and shows the only reason they ask you is because you're a girl. Also, people who don't want to parent their own kids shouldn't have kids. If they didn't want to take care of their first, they shouldn't have had the other 3. You're still a kid yourself at 17, and it sounds like you haven't had chance to engage in your teen years because of them. 100% not the idiot, and go live your best damn life. My niece got pregnant when was 19. I also got pregnant when I was in college and I decided to keep the baby. So, naturally, she came to me for advice when this thing happened. Her situation was very similar to mine. I spoke with her honestly. I told her that it was tough and I had to sacrifice, but that I don't regret anything now as I love my son and I think he is worth all the struggles. I mentioned very clearly that my parents and friends helped out a lot. I would have never been able to finish college if they hadn't helped. I also told her that my experience may not be the same for her. Her parents wanted me to lie and say that I regretted it. I spoke with her truly and honestly. She too decided to keep the baby after she spoke with her parents, and they said that they would help. I think there may have been some miscommunication of what help means in this scenario. Well, my niece expected her parents to take care of the kid until she graduated. Like my parents, they were only willing to help her with occasional babysitting and other small support. Things have been tense, and now the baby is a year old, and niece is adamant that she wants to go to college. Her parents have refused to help her, and she came to my house and told me that I have to take care of her kid until she graduates. She thinks I must do that because it was because of me that she decided to keep the baby. I laughed and told her that it wasn't happening. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, you might have helped her make her decision, but ultimately it was her choice to keep the baby. Just because you had a child early and are okay, does not mean she would be the exact same way. She should have thought about the possibilities before making her decision. And help is just that, help. It is not your job to entirely take over childcare for the baby she decided to keep. She had lots of time to voice her concerns and make it known what kind of help she was seeking, free childcare it seems. Not the idiot or choice, her baby. Nothing wrong with wanting to go to college, but after she decided to keep the kid, she became responsible for the development of that child. Her parents are doing well in helping her by babysitting, but it's unfair to ask the parents to raise it 24/7 when she was the one who decided to keep it. I have to say, not the idiot OP. You told her it took sacrifice and it took work. You let her know everything she needed to know to make an informed decision. She made her choice. Not the idiot, you told her her experience may not be the same as yours. You can help her by looking for training programs that are either very short, like a phlebotomy course, 2 months. Maybe everyone can chip in for daycare for 2.5 months to give her a couple weeks to find a job and start paying her way. There are also training programs like electrical or plumbing that pay a salary while they do the training. In which case maybe everyone can contribute to 1 month of daycare to give her time to get money together to continue on. I'm a 16-year-old girl and I live with my parents and my 2 older brothers. A couple of months ago, I decided I needed to gain some weight. I am technically underweight and honestly, I didn't really like the way I looked or felt. I found a bunch of ways to add some more calories into my diet, and one of those was actually eating breakfast. In the past, I rarely ate breakfast, and I never ate a breakfast that was a whole meal. So I started cooking myself breakfast every day. Not only is it delicious and helps me gain weight, but I also enjoying relaxing in the morning by cooking something. I make a lot of different things, but to give you an idea, this past week I've made waffles, breakfast burritos, egg sandwiches, and oatmeal. When I first started cooking breakfast, my parents and brothers, who work from home at the moment, asked me if I could make some for them too. I said sure because I was already cooking, so it didn't bother me. Since then I've been making 5 portions of breakfast every morning and everyone has been enjoying it. And I've gained 5 pounds. About a week ago though, my parents and my oldest brother went on sort of a health kick. They decided they wanted to eat healthier and cut down on how much fat and sugar they were eating. That's not really what I need personally, but whatever, I don't care what they eat. They decided to swap out sugar with stevia, buy these healthy yogurts with no sugar, and swap out butter with margarine. They also decided that they wouldn't cook with fats anymore, they would just use Pam. My other brother and I don't follow any of these things. Personally, I think I'm healthy enough, and the amount of sugar and butter I eat isn't going to kill me. So I still put sugar and butter into breakfast and cook with butter or oil too. Yesterday, we were all eating breakfast, and my dad asked me what was in the waffles, so I told him flour, butter, sugar, etc. He seemed surprised and asked why I didn't just use the stevia and margarine. I told him, because I don't really like them, and I'm trying to gain weight, so using low-calorie alternatives doesn't seem like the best idea. Then my dad asked me if I could just switch to Pam when I cook stuff to reduce the calories a little. I told him absolutely not. Since then, my mom and other brother have tried convincing me. I've told them no several times, and now they're angry that I won't compromise. I told them if they wanted to use their low-calorie stuff, they could cook themselves. They think I'm being inconsiderate of their health and that I'm just being rude. My dad even went so far as to threaten to stop buying sugar and butter if I wouldn't be more considerate of them. I think that, if I do compromise, eventually they'll ask me to swap out more and more stuff until I'm barely eating more than before. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your father is an idiot for basically threatening you if you don't do as he says. I'm not suggesting this, but the threat can work both ways. What do you think the authorities would say when they are informed that an underweight 16-year-old girl is being forced to eat low-calorie foods by her father? Again, not saying you should do this, just trying to get you to think about what he's doing or saying from another point of view. They think I'm being inconsiderate of their health. Well, they in turn are being inconsiderate of your health and your wishes to gain weight, and being inconsiderate of your politeness in cooking for all of them. You want to gain weight and you're making an effort to do so by preparing and eating breakfast each morning. They want to lose weight, so if the ingredients you use are hindering that, they can put in their own effort to prepare their own breakfasts. Not the idiot, it's not like it's your job to cook them breakfast. It isn't something that's been your chore, it's something you did because it wasn't a big deal and you were being nice. If they need them to make something else aside from what you're making, then it's a bigger hassle, and you have every right to say no. You're not an idiot to tell them to make their own breakfast if they want it a specific way that you don't make it. You're their kid or sibling, not their personal chef. Me and my ex-girlfriend were together for barely 1 year before we broke up. She came into my life 8 years after we broke up, suing me for child support for a 7-year-old girl, and after proving paternity, I tried to sue for custody. We were in different states and court's rules entirely in her favor. I got visitation every 2 months. In reality, I hardly got to see her once or twice a year. I tried to visit more, but my ex didn't let me. Went to court. Nothing happened. When Anne was 10, my ex asked me to give up my parental rights. I refused. Then, the game started. She would arrange visits last minute so that I could not afford the tickets and cancel plans last minute so that I would lose money. She kept this up and I broke and gave up my rights. Anne too had a father figure and pretty soon, the call stopped too. When Anne was 10, they moved to another country. I did not talk to them after that. Now, I am married and I have 2 very beautiful stepchildren whom I love very much. Anne is now 19 and she reached out to me. She was in the state and wanted to visit. I invited her to my home. My family was at my wife's place. I haven't even said hello before she started ranting at me. She told me about how I was a deadbeat father and she hated her mom and stepdad and how I abandoned her, etc. I asked her what she was talking about. Turns out, ex and stepfather were really crazy and made her life miserable. She is now North Carolina with them. She talked about how I abandoned her and there was no responsible adult who even cared about her a little bit. At this point, I told her that it wasn't my fault that her mom didn't tell me or pressured me into giving up custody. I guess Anne didn't know that. I explained everything. Even after I explained everything, she continued to yell at me about how I should have done something. I calmly asked her what I should have done. She became more angry and yelled more as she didn't have an answer. I calmly told her that I have always wanted a relationship with her and I was so glad when she called, but it's very obvious that she is only here to place blame and I wanted her to leave. She said that wasn't fair and she only came here to know me. I calmly pointed out that she was here for 2 hours and she hasn't asked a single thing about me and only yelled. In the end, she stormed out. I am still open to having a relationship with her, but I am not willing to be anyone's punching bag. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for your latest action. Not allowing yourself to be abused is a pretty basic boundary. But I think you can be more empathetic to her hurt and blame. You should be willing to listen to her feelings, even if they're negative about you, but you shouldn't have to put up with being yelled at for hours. I'd reach out again, express your desire to connect, but stick to the no yelling at each other boundary. Don't tell her she's wrong for being hurt and blaming you, the boundary should just be the yelling. And read up on empathetic listening. You're the idiot. All your daughter knows about you now is that you will cut and run when things are not easy enough for you. You did it when you gave up custody and you did it again when you gave her 2 hours to vent a lifetime of rage, pain, loss, and abandonment. You literally said she didn't ask you any questions about yourself. Did you even once say that you are sorry for the circumstances or that you would have changed them if you could have done so? It sounds like you just told her that her pain doesn't matter to you in the slightest and kicked her out the door. No idiots here, she's 19 and just found out every lie her mom told her about you isn't true. She's angry, confused, lost, and feeling unloved. If you want to build a relationship with her, you're going to have to cut her some slack on this. Give her some time and then reach out and tell her the truth. You love her, you want a relationship with her, you're sorry you couldn't do more for her as a child. Maybe suss out if she'd be interested in seeing a therapist or family therapist to help find better ways to communicate and ease the transition.